Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. In this week's technical analysis, we'll cover the big three: IOTA, OMG, and NEO. So this week, the talk of the town has obviously been those Bitcoin futures. Now, I have done an interview with Charting Man Dan. I've also done a video about my personal thoughts on how that's going to affect the market moving forward. So check that out if you like. But last week, we were trading at around 11,000 for Bitcoin. And a lot of people were expecting a pullback just because we were a little bit overbought and we had run, fairly hard, fairly fast. But I guess my overarching message was I don't think we get a correction just for the sake of it. Too many people I was speaking to were waiting for that pullback and saying, oh, I'm going to buy a lot of Bitcoin when we get this pullback at 7,000 or whatnot. And when everyone is waiting for a pullback, when everyone's hoping for a pullback, because they want to buy more, that means the sentiment in the market is still overwhelmingly positive. And I said, unless there's something meaningfully negative that changes the fundamentals, I don't think we get a meaningful pullback of any type. So look, we went from 11,000, what a week it's been. So this is the data from Coinbase here, where we got to 19,700, order books were stretched, some exchanges were cutting out. On Bitfinex we only got up to 16,000 or so, but since then we did have a meaningful pullback, so that's 30%, and I think that's all we're going to get. So a lot of people were speculating that the price was being run up so that the futures could short them and make money on the way down while they also take positions in Bitcoin, long-term positions. But look, this all played out over the weekend, and it's certainly something we're noticing is the speed it takes for Bitcoin to go up. Each $1,000 increment is getting compressed, and so are the corrections. So something that used to take a week to play out, 2 weeks, even months for Bitcoin back in the day to have these deep, meaningful corrections, it's speeding up. So you've got to be so on the pulse. If you're planning to trade these swings, these ups and downs, guys, it's for so many people, you're better off just to hold your coins, store them in your hardware wallet, store them offline, have a little bit of money on an exchange if you want to do some trading, for sure. But look, everyone I see trying to say, oh, I'm going to sell high and buy low, it is so much hard to do, and it is getting harder. So just be aware of that. So let's have a look at the 4-hour chart. This does show it a little bit better. We've had this huge run up, a bit of a pullback, almost a double bottom, triple bottom here. These wicks touching the 78.6% retracement. But to be honest, guys, I think that's it. I think there's just too much positive talk and energy in this space. The futures are gonna, give more exposure to people, even though they're not underlyingly settled in Bitcoin. They are cash settled. I still think it brings legitimacy to the space. Paves the way for that Bitcoin ETF. I said, just continue to think longer term. Keep an eye on that breakout level, and as long as we get that on good volume, we keep going up. And sure enough, that's exactly what we got. So look, guys, I think we continue to trend higher, and then we're looking at this date here, which is around December 19th, when we're looking for that next pullback, that next correction. But we still have a couple of days of positive action ahead of us from the way the charts are setting up, in my opinion. Ethereum, last week we were trading at 465. Again, my message was pretty simple. It's positive. Look higher. I don't think we get a meaningful correction unless something fundamental changes. Traders are just passing the baton between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, taking it in turns on which one they're trading to push it higher, take some profits. That's exactly what we saw. So we got that new all-time high, $536 there. We're trading at 465 last week, so that's a pretty decent percentage move there. 15% if you did trade that. But now we're just sort of correcting again these equilibrium patterns. We're consolidating at high fib levels in the longer picture, the grand scheme of things, from that most recent significant bottom there. Plenty to like about Ethereum. This bracket here starts to push up again on the 13th. Maybe that gives us that next push we need. But I certainly think long term everything remains overwhelmingly positive for Ethereum. What a week it's been for Litecoin. So I've got the 5-minute chart up here. I entered a trade with members today down here, and I've just exited that before making this video. But to be honest, it looks like we're going to continue higher. So look, I'm never greedy. That takes our trade record to 29 out of 30. since I started the Crypto Academy. So look, we're moving high here, guys, and Litecoin's just been a picture of strength. So last week we were trading at around $100, and I said that I considered that our new base for that next push higher. So traders are jumping between the big three, as I just mentioned, and this is a 100% move here from that $100, that old high, to the new mark there of almost $200. You know, it's just insane to see these moves, and it is possible in cryptocurrency. If you followed my advice and have a heavy weighting of the big three, you've just done incredibly well and made life-changing amounts of money, even in the past few months. So look, this bracket here does finish on the 13th. Let's see if we can have one more push higher, a test of this old high before we maybe need to trade sideways, build a new base, consolidate. But I mean, again, you can argue that we've already done that. Even since that breakout here, we've had a decent sized correction. Sorry, I'll get out that fib retracement there. Decent sized correction, cooling off, and now readying ourselves for that next move higher. So plenty to like about Litecoin. I think that the market cap is still small in the grand scheme of things as we move forward. If Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to do well, I think Litecoin is going to continue to catch up. Beautiful breaking out of this this little pennant that I had drawn here for members, and that was one of the reasons we were so bullish and entered this trade for a nice 10% or so profit. It's been a big week or so for IOTA as well. So this is a coin that I first recommended way back here when it was trading in the 20-cent range. I made my fundamental analysis style video and I said I love this one for the long term. So again, have a look at the percentage gains. If you got in back here in the 20-cent range as I'd been recommending, I made a video for members saying, you know, well done guys, this is the 7th coin we've picked this year that's got us 1,000% profits. And then, you know, it was only a couple of days later when we were reaching towards the 2,000, 3,000% profit mark, which is, it's just incredible, guys. It's why it's worth putting in the time to do that fundamental research and find good coins for your long-term portfolio, and why you don't have to be a day trader to make these good gains in the crypto space. Certainly, it's helpful if you can trade and add coins, add to your stats, but your long-term portfolio, but putting in the research to find good projects and good ICOs is still paying, you know, upwards of 1,000% returns. Well done guys if you bought a bit of IOTA. We took some profits up here at $5. I took some profits as well at $4, and now we're just consolidating, guys. So look, there's never anything wrong with taking a little bit of money off the table. I still like IOTA for the long term, but when we run this hard, this fast, and we're overbought on the daily, you know that we're going to get a pullback, and that certainly happens most of the time. When we get into the 90s on the daily RSI, and when the MACD gets this extended, you know, watch that MACD video I've just done as well, explaining this histogram, all these little signals that we're overbought and that we're due for a correction, a cool off, that reset in energy, that reset in sentiment in the market. We've got to allow traders to take profits, allow new entrants to the space, and again, we just form the new base for the next leg higher if the coins continue to have good developments and follow their roadmap as planned. OMG, you guys know that this is one that I absolutely love. I backed the truck up at $6. Again, we put a swing trade on here, entering in at around $8.55. That was another opportunity here for 25% profit there as we get well up above $10 again. But look, I'm surprised we're pulling back this far. Guys, this is just this is a gift. The number of times we've pulled back and tested this sort of $7.50 to $7.20 area here, I just don't see it going much below here, and if it does, it's a gift to buy more. I think this is far beyond $10 in the coming months, depending on their announcements, but you want to be looking where everyone else is not. And when IOTA's got the spotlight, or you know, EOS, or all these other coins, I want to be looking at these other coins that are selling off, that have got strong fundamentals but have lost the hype. That's when you make money, by buying things when they're not popular and everyone's sort of forgotten about them. That's when you should be accumulating and adding to your long-term portfolio. And then when they do capture that spotlight, let's say OMG has another great announcement, has a spike up to the old-time highs, that's when you maybe want to be taking some profits, locking in 10%, that sort of thing. So that's the way I like to trade, build my wealth, build my long-term portfolio, take some profits when there's too much excitement or we get overextended. NEO. Now I want to take a really long-term view here. So this is the weekly chart, and we're forming another interesting sort of pennant pattern here that I think we're going to break out of. So just like we had this one here, we're surprised that we broke to the downside, but then we saw this huge bar here on the weekly as we broke out. So again, I think we've had this big pattern, big breakout here. We're forming this pattern, equilibrium. I think we break out to the upside, unless the only headwind I really see for NEO is if the Chinese government come out and say, look, you have to use our state-issued cryptocurrency. I certainly don't think that that is the likely scenario. So at the moment, I think the likely path for NEO is certainly up. I don't like to give long-term price targets, but I think we're easily going to surpass $50 as soon as NEO gets the slightest bit of good news, any sort of attention. I don't like people that call this a direct competitor to Ethereum. They're different platforms with different targets and objectives. NEO can capture that China audience demographic, and Ethereum can capture a completely different worldwide audience user base, the platform, the dApps that they're going for. So look guys, I own both of those. I'm extremely bullish. The market cap of the whole crypto space touched half a trillion dollars. I certainly think we're heading towards $1 trillion. If you understand this technology, you know that each of these projects is very unique. We shouldn't think of this as cryptocurrency bubble. They're unique projects that deserve individual attention, and that's where I see this going throughout 2018. People are going to realize that these individual projects aren't cryptocurrencies, they're actual individual businesses disrupting individual industries. So the Bitcoin futures, this is one scenario that I painted, and whether or not we see this being an ongoing issue, the circuit breakers. So CBOE has already had to halt trading twice today due to 10% or greater moves. So the first 10% move is a 2-minute trading halt. The next one, when futures saw 20 minutes, is a 5-minute trading halt. Once they launch on CME next week, that means trading's done for the day when we hit 20%. So I'm interested to watch how this plays out. If we continue to have big volatility, how do futures markets react if their trading gets halted every day? For that reason, I think they need the price to go higher for these futures to function well. So it's another reason I see Bitcoin being able to go into the tens of thousands throughout 2018, and I think the overall that I'm looking higher on the short term, medium term, and longer term for Bitcoin. So I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. Please hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, share these videos around, and as always, thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.